Welcome to the Thornton Review.
The show designed with you in mind. If it's important to you, it's important to us.
There are a lot of important issues and changes going on in Escambia County right now. We've invited Commissioner KOHLER on the show to give us some insight into some of the topics regarding court cases with the county, education, floodwater, and homelessness, just to name a few. But first, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll begin our discussion with Commissioner KOHLER and learn a little more about what is going on in Escambia County. There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that. Commissioner KOHLER ran for office for the first time in 2020 after serving in the Navy for 33 years. His career started in Pensacola in 1988 as a hospital corpsman working at the Navy Hospital, and it concluded as the Executive Officer of Navy Medicine Operational Training Command on board NAS Pensacola. His career spanned 13 pay grades from E1 to 06, and he is proud to be called a Mustang for his enlisted time. KOHLER received his associate's degree in nursing from Pensacola Junior College in 1991. He later received his master's from the University of West Florida in 2004. KOHLER has been engaged in the community for years with a list of volunteer activities, including coordinating a health excellence symposium for the greater Pensacola area from 1999 to 2001, serving as the vice chair of the Escambia County Republican Party from 2011 to 2014, and race director for Rock and Fly Half Marathon and 5K from 2014 to 2020, which brought in over $230,000 for the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society. KOHLER has served on the Escambia County Health Facilities Authority since 2002. The authority has donated $1.5 million to local nonprofits and managed $1.4 billion in bonds for the county. KOHLER and his wife are proud to call Pensacola their home. They're both committed to improving the health and well-being of children. They have coordinated and supported numerous road races and triathlons over the last 20 years. They are committed athletes and have together completed a marathon in all 50 states. KOHLER's goal is to have an ethical government that the people can trust. Being a registered nurse for over 30 years, the most trusted profession across America, he believes he has the skill set to change the direction of the Board of County Commissioners from continually being perceived as negative. He is a persistent optimist with the determination that Escambia County needs at this time. KOHLER and his wife Shannon have 3 grown children and now reside with a pug named Jackson. Mike, it is so nice to have you back on the show. You were on our show when we first started doing it. You were one of our first guests.
It's changed.
And you were, yeah, and you were newly elected to the Board of County Commission for Escambia County. So congratulations, you've been doing this, 16 months now?
Around that, yeah.
So what all has changed? What all is happening? I know that there's a lot going on with like Children's Trust, for instance. So maybe we can start on that topic.
Well, that's a new thing that came out of, I guess, an oversight by county legal and CRAs. And so when the CRA was, or the ECT, the Escambia Children's Trust, was established, there's a carve-out that community redevelopment agencies get some of that tax dollars. It's a little over $1 million. There's, in my district, there's 3 CRAs. We got one in Barrancas, one in Warrington, which is the largest in Escambia County, and then I share one with Commissioner May in Brownsville. And there's 7 total. Loom and Commissioner May, I think, has 4. I could be wrong on that. I think he has 4. Commissioner Berry has 1, and then there's 1 in D4 in Atwood. But the majority of them are in District 2 2 and 3. And so the legal came up a while back and said we're entitled to this money now. You got to go back. There's been a lot of public outcry on the ESCAMBIA Children's Trust Fund. Was the tax appropriate, for what they've been doing? Are we meeting all the kids? And I can tell you in District 2, we don't have a multi-use field. We don't have a library in the poor area. We don't have an after-school program on Lexington Terrace. I did write a letter for Dr. Riz for Warrington Prep, and Triumph gave $7+ million for that school. But when you look, is the Children's Trust meeting all of the county's needs? I would say in District 2, they could help us out a little bit more. So I voted for that, and so did both the chairman, Commissioner Berry, as well as Commissioner May. And Commissioner May sits on that board as one of his collateral duties. And I think he was for it, had a little bit of resistance. We got a little bit of kickback because we didn't wait for the public forum. That maybe we should have done that. That came in late in the night request, and that could have happened. But that looked to me like it was delay tactic at the time to hold off, because they have 45 days to pay the county. There will probably be more discussion on April 4th about it.
Okay.
It's a tax. If the trust fund isn't using all the funds appropriately, then you got to ask yourself, should that money go back to the citizens? Should eventually be revoted on? Or should the county, like we did, say we'll take our part, which we're allowed to do, without giving the ECT a waiver, and use it in our CRAs? And so that's why I voted for it. And I want to work with the ESCAMBIA Children's Trust Fund. And I think Mrs. Cannon, she's only been on the job less than 2 months. I was the only commissioner that went to the Bayview meeting when they talked about all of it, and then the former chair of the trust fund resigned shortly after all that. But I think they have a good vision. They got a lot of good people on the board, but I think the citizens want to see a little bit more with that money.
Does the ESCAMBIA Children's Trust have a constitution and bylaws?
I have not read them, but I imagine they do, because they're a board, and and they have oversight. And the superintendent of elections is on there, Mr. Peen's on there, Stephanie White's on there, Miss Cannon. I don't remember the whole board. Lumen's the county commissioner chair that sits on it. But yeah, he's the voice for what's going on there for the board.
Right. Yeah. So I would imagine they have guidelines and procedures on where they're able to spend the money. And
absolutely. And I think that, I don't know how many trust funds are on the state, but we're not alone. I want to say there's, I don't know the number, but there's more trust funds, and so they have guidelines and statute that regulate it. That's the reason we were able to get the CRA dollars. It wasn't like we said, hey, we need another $1 million out of other tax dollars for that the citizens are paying. But the city's also entitled to this. And from my understanding, they're going to go after their portion of their CRA dollars within the city. And I think that amounts to $300,000 to $500,000. I don't know the exact amount, but it's a significant amount.
And
I also understand that the superintendent of ESCAMBIA County School District sits on that board as well.
He sure does. Yep. He sure
Yeah.
does.
And the school district is also has their eyes on it as well.
Yeah.
I have a ton. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Isn't there another school board member who sits on it?
I
It's
don't
not
know
important,
for
but-
sure, because we got a lot of boards, and I know some of the players, but maybe
They
Kevin
know-
Adams.
they know the area.
I think it may be Kevin Adams. but
They
could be-
know the areas that need it, that need the
Well,
money.
like I said, tell me what we've done in District 2.
Right.
And I can tell you, they've given some money to Hassan Rule that does Youth Left Behind, and they've done some good things. But I don't feel the money's being appropriately spent throughout the county. And if you're a poor kid in District 2, I think you're at a disadvantage. So that's why I voted for it. And I'll stand by it, and I'll give them examples if they need them.
Right.
And I'll work with Miss Cannon to say why. And I think they'll look into that. But I know the CRAs. For example, just look at, someone sent me a kind of an email saying, you said parks aren't about kids. Well, when you don't have a multi-use park between Edgewater, Air Vista, and Lakewood, and these kids live, a lot of them kids live in single-family homes and can't get access to another field, isn't that children's support and what they can do? Look at it. Look at Lexington Terrace. We had an after-school program for those kids. The only failing school in the ESCAMBIA County was the former Warrington Middle. Not one after-school program there. Not one.
Right.
Come on, we got to do better. We can do better.
If I might interject up front, Commissioner KOHLER, you have done a wonderful job with District 2 since you've been there. I know there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but I look at and I pay attention to some of the blighted areas, and you kind of focus in like a laser on some of those blighted areas. You do have some good areas there. I think a part of Perdido, and there's some great areas there, but you have really focused in, and I haven't seen a commissioner do that. What is it that drives you to focus in on those areas? And you're making some improvement in.
Well, let's talk about that. Was actually probably the pivotal thing that got me in the race. I said, I live in a beautiful place. I love this place. It's a very pro-military, pro-veteran town. Mm-hmm. Why is all this garbage around the front gate of the base when we take 5 to 7 veterans to be buried in blankets on an average day?
Wow, yeah.
I said, this is unbelievable. So first thing I did, I got with code and said, if there's code violations in District 2, cite them. The people want it cleaned up. We repaved Old Coreyfield Road. We put up signs. You've probably seen them, keep it clean ESCAMBIA in District 2 on the roads. People say signs don't work. Well, I stop at stop signs. Do you? They start to change the messaging.
Yeah.
I had 2 buses wrapped that drive around ESCAMBIA County, predominantly downtown in District 2, that say keep it clean ESCAMBIA. They're diverse. Tomorrow, I'll be out at Lexington Terrace picking up trash for the same reason that the health authority hasn't dealt with the homeless problem in Jones Swamp. So when I first got elected, the Sonic across from Warrington Prep literally had a homeless person living there with about 6,000 pounds of garbage.
Wow.
So it took me literally.
Are they allowed? They were allowed to live there, correct?
Well, until I got to
they were
Sonic's
allowed
headquarters.
to live there, but they need to have guidelines and rules for
Absolutely.
people if they're allowed to live somewhere.
You're so right.
You can't have 6,000 pounds of trash. You can't have any trash.
Well, let me share with you what happened with that, and then that may go into the Baptist story. So Sonic was the first place we kind of went after. So, and I finally got to the headquarters, because Sonic is a huge restaurant across the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't even know that this was going on. As soon as I got to their legal counsel, we had to post the signs. As soon as you do that, then we could kick them off. And they literally took it down within days.
Yeah.
And that, I appreciate them doing that. But when you had a impoverished school, or a failing school, I should say, in a low-income area, and the Pines literally had their trash blowing all over. Suburban does too. I went out there. They didn't care.
I remember that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Allison called me. I got calls from everybody on that. We went out there. I had code start enforcing it. But these kids had to walk through garbage to go to and from school.
I like your initiative.
It's unbelievable.
Keep it clean.
ESCAMBIA.
I like
Look
that.
for the buses.
Yeah.
Look at signs when you're driving around District 2. They're all over on the county roads. And it's just a small thing to start messaging. And
but it's a huge idea and a huge impact on our community.
well, in District 2, politically is the most diverse political,
Right.
because we have the little more Republicans and Democrats in District 2, whereas 1, 4, and 5 have 10, 12,000, and then Commissioner May has, I think, around 9,000 additional Democrats in District 3. I have the most diverse district out of all the commissioners. And you look, but District 2 is the economic engine for ESCAMBIA County.
Because of NAS.
$6 billion, a little under 50% of the economy for the county. And we could go through how we haven't invested in that because of specialized districts, through legacy commissioners, through no strategic planning, all the things that you would not normally see on a board that I sit on multiple boards over years, where you'd have to rack and stack priorities based on need. And I will say with my fellow commissioners, they've done a lot of good things for District 2, maybe because I'm new, maybe I'm not, I don't poke the bear too much. But the bottom line is, I think we should run the government a lot different than the way we do now. We should have committee of the wholes. We should have priority lists based on actual need.
Right.
And what happens is the staff basically says, we got 5 commissioners, get a project here, get a project here, get a...
Right.
And so
We need a master plan
Amen.
for the county.
So that looks good for for a guy like me, if I'm running for re-election, hey, I got my park, or I got my road, or I got my community center. But is that good for every citizen in Escambia County? Most of the citizens in Escambia County could not tell you the lines of where they live in. I can tell you, you probably don't know them. I probably don't know even every line for each commission. The citizens don't know this. They just want us to take care of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, politics gets involved, and it's like I got to get one more thing in my district, and maybe I'm a different politician in that aspect. I want to care about the whole county, and I'm not saying the other commissioners don't. They just look at it. I think if you were to look at the amount of money that goes per district and different things combined with the city, I'm pretty sure District 2 would be on the losing end.
When I look at you, I see a person, because I know the individuals that was there before you came into office, and I don't know whether they did not have a focus, it just didn't get their interest, or they was not able to build that particular relationship with the other commissioners. Not because it just appeared that there was pretty much nothing really getting done in these particular areas, and each commissioner, even though there were some blighted areas, and then there were some CRA areas, it appears once you got there, not only did the citizens picked up and start demanding more, and it's as if that they didn't put I won't call it pressure, but they did not interact with the other commissioners to the point that they interact with you. And I know, and now it appears that they feel more comfortable interacting with you, because they believe that you're going to at least attempt to get something done.
Well, Charles, when I got elected, it was never about fighting with the commissioners. If I have a difference, I'll fight with them. I don't go out on social media, or, if you ask me a question, I'll be direct, but I'll try to just do it in a gentle way.
Or poking the bear, as you said earlier.
Yeah,
it's
not healthy.
No.
But leadership, I think I can say before I came in, this is my last job. We had over 700 employees, pushed through 20,000 students a year, had 6 detachments across the United States. I absolutely had to depend on those OICs and those department heads, those leading chiefs. I knew right away, if I only have 2 commission meetings a month, that ain't gonna work. I gotta get with the directors and the county administrator, because the majority of the work that's done every single day is done by the great county staff we have. So I immediately build bridges all across the county, because that's what you have to do, and find out what everyone does and what they can do for you, the citizens in the county. And I think I have a really good relationship with the directors in the county and the county administrator and legal. And even when we may go back and forth on a certain issue, it's always healthy. It's never negative.
And it's productive.
And I think the other guys are seeing what I learned in years of leading multiple clinics, training houses. I mean, and I think it's, you can get elected. That's a popularity contest. That doesn't transcend into leadership. Leadership is about connecting, listening, empowering people. It's not about me.
Right.
Yeah, I got elected because people believed I had that skill set that would show that. And you learn that in the Navy. I mean, I went through command leadership school.
And now you got to govern. Once elected, you have to perform the duties.
I'm one guy that has input on policy. The executors are the county staff, and that's a fact. So if they don't believe in the system, they're not going to function at the performance we need them to for the citizens of Escambia County. It's so important we build up, listen to them, listen to what the problem is, because that translates into good government.
Absolutely.
So
I was born at Baptist Hospital here in Pensacola.
You know what? I trained at Baptist Hospital as a nurse before my first preceptorship. When I was there, I was an associate nurse.
Yeah.
And Gloria Ford, African-American female, I spent weeks with her going around, and she was training me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she's still alive, but I brought her over to Navy Hospital Pensacola when I came back from Guam. And so I love Baptist.
My world started there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I began. Right there at Baptist Hospital.
It's a great hospital. All the hospitals are good. They're doing great things for our county and region, really.
Yeah.
It may be a little earlier to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up The county has really been involved in some issues, lawsuit type issues, and this and that. Since I don't sit on the board, I'm not really. We got quite a few. I know one. I know one of them. We have had to do with the clerk's office, and we have another one that had to do with text messages, and we have another one that had to do with the taking or the retrieving of the text message from somebody's desk. And how are we doing as far as lawsuits and is that costing us?
That's a lot of controversy going on in the county, and we're going to get to that. But first,
take a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a
Before I get in
break.
trouble.
Yeah. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some controversial lawsuits with Commissioner KOHLER that have been going on in Escambia County.
Yeah.
There is no government-funded program that can guide a man's thoughts. Only God can do that.
So we're going to talk about the controversial lawsuits and cases going on
And
in
then
the
come back
county.
to Baptist.
But first, we started off with Baptist Hospital. About I began there. You began
Yeah.
your career there pretty much. So I hate to see it go. I'm glad that they built the brand new building. I guess they needed it. They needed more technology. They needed more equipment. They needed up to date. They needed an up to date building.
Sure, the building was becoming outdated in some sense. But just for the record, I think you highlighted in the bio, but I was on the health authority for over a decade. And I signed all the bonds for the new building that was approved from our board. I was a treasurer at the time. It was $678 million. And so I love Baptists. I work with all these institutions. But here's the deal, and I brought this up with Mark Faulkner the other night. Before we went through all the process, they had to come back with, we had multiple meetings, saw how much cash was on hand, was there environmental impacts at the new place, what were they going to do with the old place?
Right.
And the word was, we have no problem, this will get developed, don't have to worry about it, all right?
Turn it into apartments and shops.
Right,
and
or we can
something like-
reutilize it for some of the things Commissioner said, maybe urgent care. Maybe we could use something for this homeless initiative that we have going on with. But not saying that's going to happen.
Right, no, I know.
But I'm just saying, well, we
It
have
was an option.
No, the governor actually signed a law that the county has to do something.
Yeah.
You say, would you like to do a temporary fix to do something there, or would you rather me pay more money to buy other facilities to do something till we figure this out and the state decides to pay for it? These are serious questions we got to ask.
Absolutely.
But my problem was, and I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this, but I'll be honest. So the state gave $7 million. Baptist came up with, I think, around $3 million. The mayor says, I'll put in $1 million. They're going to get some other money through a different program. And they said, well, we need you to put up $2 million. Well, that's a corporate bailout. If you can't pay your tax on this house, guess what? The city's going to come in. They're going to put a lien on it. Say it's blight, squatters take over and destroy it. Then we're going to abate it, tear it down, and whoever gets it's going to have to take over that charge. I don't know why we're paying to abate a corporate business that's doing very well. I know they're cash on hand unless something's drastically changed. And so since that meeting, now, is it the right thing to do? Maybe, as far as to develop it. They haven't even been out of that building a year. You drive off the front gate of the base, the very first thing you see is Marcello's that's been blight for 15 to 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have a commercial
I used to
demolition
love that
program to tear
restaurant.
that down. So
Right.
every small business, every homeowner that their property turned into blight do they get the same benefit that we're giving to Baptists? And the answer is no.
No.
So if you're a fiscal conservative and you believe that we should be fair, or even the government should be involved in this, I don't really see this as being conservative at all. Think about this. You get taxed by the state, you get taxed by the county, you get taxed for living in the city to tear down a building that is making money as a corporation.
Right.
And is it equitable? If you're a Democrat, they like to use that word a lot. Is that equitable to a poor business that can't make it in Escambia County, and they could lose their business and their property because of the same situation if they can't sustain? And you see that all the time. Today we're tearing down a house in Lakewood for that. We tore one down in Mayfair. We tore it down. Sometimes they can afford it, sometimes they can't. The house on the property on Navy and Winthrop.
So the county's tearing these down.
And sometimes they can pay for it, like the Van Horns when they tore down the Reap at Navy and Brancas. They have the means to do it. I'm sure they would have liked to have that money paid for them. They own a lot of property on Navy Boulevard. Sonic was able to do it, but the house, the old garage on Navy and Winthrop, there was a family with several siblings, and they had to come in front of the commission and plead to let them sell one of their properties so they could abate the one at Navy and Winthrop. And they did what was right. But the bottom line is they literally had to get a request to sell a property to abate another property because it spidered over. And so, I mean, to me, this is just not right to the regular citizens.
Right.
I want to make a comment. Not knowing the inside of it and the inner workings and what's going on, but I grew up there, and I think 1971 probably about 1971 or 72, I had a daughter that was born there, and she was stillborn, and to this day, I had an opportunity to look at her and everything, and I still remember that today. We actually went to the funeral home. It was Bimbo back, and my doctor was Dr. Pimenter, so that decision, it was a community hospital, and I feel like that decision that was made when it came to Baptist Hospital and the move and the money that's going into, those are political decisions, and that's a decision that was made based on input from community influences. Some folks may get upset with me, but I take care of myself, and I have a retirement, so nobody's gonna take any money away from me. It was a political decision based on political influences. Who has an objective? It's not a need-based decision to do some type of development in that particular area, be it what it's made, whether it's for affordable housing, which to this day I have not been able to define what is a affordable house, and that's a whole nother conversation, because the need base is what's going over there. Brent, and some folks was not even happy with that location. You took it out of the community. Right now, it has no. Right now, it's not serving a purpose. So you want to revitalize it based on community funds, whether they come from the state, whether they come from the county, whether they come from the city, or wherever. They're still our tax dollars. You want to redevelop that particular area, and you got all this money coming from all these other areas. Well, if you just kind of let it alone and just keep the grass cut for a while and try to figure it out. But you're right. It's Baptist property. The city came in, so I don't know much about it, but I think it's all political.
You've got some great points, Charles. We're paying for a demolition program. We're not paying for affordable housing. We're paying. We think 16 million. It could be 20 million. It could be 12, just to demolish the building. There will be a secondary that'll have to be sold to developer. So this is just demolition.
I would look at, and this is just me, I would look at the cost to repair the building and make sure it's structurally sound, and compare that to the demolition cost.
Well,
and see what's going to be
mayor
more
said
beneficial to the community and the taxpayers.
That it has to go, and I have a good relationship with the mayor. They've been out of that
What is
building
his
less.
reasoning, though?
Yeah, maybe he wants to,
He's
have
got-
have a project in the city he can talk about. I don't know.
Already
But-
knows developers that
Or maybe I don't. He hasn't told me that. But what I will say is, you have a building that they've been out of less than a year.
yeah.
I can take you to all kinds of buildings in District 2 that have been abandoned for years.
Yeah, and of course they start crumbling.
Yes.
Because buildings need upkeep all
Absolutely.
the time. There's always an issue, especially a building the size of Baptist Hospital.
Oh,
I'm sure
it's
they have
got
maintenance
issues.
every single day.
Absolutely does. Yeah.
But I would look at the cost to make sure it's structurally sound and make sure that the roof isn't leaking and the plumbing is good, the electrical's good.
Well,
You
that's why I said temporarily till we figure out. Maybe with the governor's saying, you put some of this issue, because we're looking at several properties to purchase.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they could get a tax write-off, even if, as long as it's safe, safe,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
not a
and
long-term plan.
and can be used for something else.
Yeah.
But has the decision been made? Is it a done deal? They
No,
want demolition?
and that's exactly one. So the
okay.
News Journal report, and I went back to Molly Barros. What we
They need to
voted
save
for,
it.
what we voted for was from, and I'm not sure the governor signed off on that that $7 million yet. I don't think he had. But what we, as the county, agreed to is that the county administrator goes and looks at all options, and this is where I can say I can get behind this. As long as the county gets their money. If we want to give them a loan and they pay back the county for their money, if we take it out of CRA, if we put a tax over that area that we pay for until we get our money back, there's a lot of options here.
Mm-hmm.
But for us just to give $2 million for one little area, when you got 330,000 people across the country, that's just not right. It's just not right. So, in my opinion, some people think it's right, but it's not right for me.
I want to make another comment, and I know the mayor too. I met with him before he became mayor and talked to him. But it appears to me that the mayor, and I like him, I call him a friend, but I think his focus is more so on redevelopment than preservation, because the city got some money for a small building over there, Alice Williams Library, and they went out and got a grant and everything. And I talked with Mark Faulkner, I talked with the former mayor. I haven't had a chance to talk to this mayor, and it's in I forget. It's in one of the districts right over there on East Street, and I was kind of told that they was going to do something with that, because it's the only library that we had. It was came about in
So we need to
1951.
preserve the historical integrity.
Well,
Yeah,
when you look at
and-
Malcolm Young, and maybe that
and-
should have been torn down.
I'm
But
sorry.
that's
Well,
another
I'm
thing.
not, but this building here is not as bad as Malcolm Young. I'm just saying overall, Malcolm Young, there was no way
Yeah, it was
to
a safety.
preserve that particular building.
Right.
And even if the folks who was going out to raise the money, if they would have came up with the money, they would not have had enough funds to actually maintain it. So I think that was a good
You
decision.
I
can't.
kind of do too.
You can't wait until a building is crumbling
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then
Right.
be
But-
up in arms because it has to be demolished.
But what you do there, how did we get in the root cause where facilities for the county never picked up on it? You have to go back and say those buildings should have been looked at regularly. How did this building get in such a situation that we had to tear
They
it down?
did look at it, and it was voted
I-
on, and they voted for the funds to go elsewhere. City council.
Well, I was okay with them, tearing it down after looking at the totality of the situation. The mayor was in a tough position because people have attachment to that building, and it did look like it was too
Well,
costly.
So whoever actually owns the building should be held responsible for keeping it. If you own a historical house or a historical building, you are responsible for the maintenance.
But
and
that's
upkeep.
getting back to Baptist, where the main focus, the long-term objective. I think the 4 or 5 year plan, whoever developed the plan, was for development. Development. That property,
Demolition.
and that probably was that decision was probably made 3, 4 years back,
yeah.
that we're going to use this, and so what you do when you do a study, and it's an achievable objective. So, and that's what I'm saying. I'm saying not good, whether it's good or bad. The mayor is mainly focused on redevelopment, and I'm saying that.
I'm
that's my
focused
own
on
personal view.
preserving
It's
history.
not the view of Mike KOHLER. It's not your view. But my opinion is that this particular mayor, main focus is on redevelopment, and I just hope that when he finish up with his redevelopment, that we have some affordable houses that that's affordable. And I don't. Here again, that I'm saying that his main focus is on redevelopment and not preservation.
We need affordable housing for the average person in Pensacola.
Right.
That's-
Well, we have
that would
a
be
lot
our
of development going on in the county, but the problem
Absolutely, all over the place.
and then you get, and then
everywhere.
I get regularly called and says, "My house is going to flood now." You know, they're always worried
Yeah.
about infrastructure, stormwater
Yep.
drainage, all the things that developmental services has to check off. But
Well, so
That was Charles Thornton. That wasn't.
I
no,
like-
that was
No,
a good
I-
conversation
yeah.
because it's complicated. And then when you say let's put impact fees on people that buy new property, then
Yeah.
the developers don't like that, but a lot of people bring that up all the time. So that's
They're-
another option to
they
pay. If we
are
tear it
in-
down, if you develop
they are
it.
causing flooding issues, that we need impact fees.
Yep.
And they, they need utilities, they need improvements. There's a lot of impact. that
I
goes
I
on
know
with-
it is. I agree, and each one of these decisions is painful because you're never going to get 100% support.
You're right.
You're going to get if you get 60 to 70, boy, you're doing good. Normally it's half and half, and you're getting arrows from both sides.
So now it might be a good time to talk about some of the court cases that have been going on. So was there any particular one that you would like to know about first?
The one with there's one that was with the Owens, and there's one that has to do with
With the
the
text
pay,
messaging.
and then there's one that has to do with the email.
Are you able to talk about all of this?
I can tell you which ones I can and which ones I can't.
Okay.
So we're in way too many, in my opinion, legal cases. Some of them are self-inflicted. The text message one you just mentioned yesterday, the judge, which was out of Okaloosa County, ruled against the county on the Rapleva case. So we lost that portion of the case. That's where Commissioner Burgash said that his property was his, even though the county had sent it out in public records request redacted. I had two issues with this. When it came up on the board and we voted for this, I agreed with Commissioner Burgash on his personal records. The problem that came in with me is after the News Journal posted that it looked like there could have been a potential sunshine violation. I never said there was, but there was a lot of information in there that was, I think, disparaging to him and the county as a board. So the state attorney got involved in that. Well, that's a separate investigation, but the county went forward. And the county, and I had a problem with this. If you go back and look at the record, the day that this came up to vote, I had multiple concerns under just being a citizen in the United States of America. Because I asked our county attorney, and I'm only talking about the text messages now, who are we going after and what charges are we going after?
You're going after citizens.
And we're not going to name who, and I don't know who. And I also brought up, is this going to come? How many? And I have a great relationship with the county attorney. She said, I don't know. It could be 5. It could be 500. I don't know. It could be 1. And the image was that we were going after Jonathan Owens, which Commissioner Burgash and the former Commissioner Underhill, and he was his aide, and they'd been at battle for a
Yeah,
long
they
time.
butted heads the
Right.
entire time.
Yeah, and I don't want any part of that. So, but this for me was all about protecting citizens in the First Amendment.
Sure.
So, and I asked the board, are we going to come back to the board to look at these? So I would have never went after Gannett or some guy for a social media post. I think that we should have had more oversight. We relinquished our oversight. So I don't know how it got from who should we go after, because we never decided on the board. Commissioner May didn't want to address it, and Commissioner Berry didn't say anything. Commissioner Burgash wouldn't say Jonathan's name, and I asked Jonathan to come up. And so I'm like, I didn't really know what we're going to do. I thought, well, maybe we're going to send a cease and desist order, or maybe, who knows? Then when I hear we're doing this Repleva case, I didn't even know what a Repleva case was.
Right.
I'm not a lawyer.
I don't either.
And so I said, what's a Repleva
I'm looking
case?
at it thinking, is that
Yeah,
somebody's name?
what is that? So I go and ask Allison, well, it's like, I stole your car, I want my car back kind of thing, Well, this was stuff that now that since it went into the county IT department, and remember this was another thing I still don't understand, being my previous job, having an enormous IT department, how we couldn't figure out how this disc was stolen for Jeff. He took his phone down, downloaded it. There were some thumb drives given. The previous IT director left. The interim was fired. His aide, I don't know what the situation is, but she left too. She was the transport, I guess, for these thumb drives. And then of course Jonathan Owen says it shows up in my office, which I don't know if that's true or false. I believe in you're innocent until proven guilty, right?
Right.
But maybe Jonathan obviously shouldn't have turned that over. I probably should have turned it over to the state attorney, maybe before he got out.
Was it proven that he turned it over?
Well, absolutely. He did turn it over to Dr. Edler, which is
he?
a different case that we're in litigation with.
Dr. Edler Deutsch?
Ramey Edler, which was
Okay.
our former medical director. We'll get to
Gotcha,
that one in a minute. But anyways, he turned that over.
Did he admit to it?
Oh yes, I'm pretty sure he admitted to that. And so their lawyers, I believe this is public record, came back and said, hey, we got this, and said, we want to do it the right way. And now that will be able to be used, to my understanding, in the Edler case. Dr. Edler has a couple cases, which I can't say too much about that, against the county, because she's in litigation on multiple things with the county. And I'll just say that. But I can talk about one of the other cases was Sea Lover. And Sea Lover was a paramedic that worked for the county, that the county settled. This is public record for
So
200.
his name is Sea Lover?
Yes, I don't know his first name, but he was a paramedic. He no longer is with the county. And so they settled some sort of issue with the medical director and how the staff was treated. Don't know all the details on that. Anyways, the carrier settled with Sea Lover for $200,000. Before I came on board, Commissioner Burgash wanted to pay for his fines. These were from the Florida Department of Health. You go get a DUI, I like you, Michelle, should I pay for your DUI? No, man, I shouldn't. That's not right. We don't pay for it. Anyway.
If it's a matter of opinion, though.
Well, I'm using your tax dollars to pay for someone that went through an investigative process through the Florida Department of Health, where the state surgeon general signed off that this guy had competency problems, that didn't work within his scope of practice, and had to do continuing education, and was fined.
That there should be guidelines, ordinances,
Absolutely, that
policies.
should never happen.
Right.
And I've told Alex Andrade this in his office in Tallahassee. No citizen should ever have to pay for a fine of another citizen, if it's a parking fee, if it's on your licensure.
Sure, right.
So the clerk of the court hasn't paid it. And to add more mud into the water, our county attorney and another attorney have emails that are public record that said we shouldn't have paid it. So we'll probably, I don't know what's going to happen with that case.
Well,
it's
there
not
isn't a
legit.
person in the world or in the county that thinks that would
So
be okay.
I was new to this, but being in the medical professional and dealing with this, I've been on 9 administrative boards. This just stunk to high heaven to me. And I know a lot about this. This is my wheelhouse, right? And I'm like, why are we getting involved in this? We should have let the state agency tell us and direct it. If he got the $200,000 from the carrier, we should have never went out for paying fines. But that's just my opinion.
My personal opinion on that is that it's as if something happened, and I work for the county, the city, federal government, and I go out and get I'm in an accident or something like that. Either I get a ticket, and then I come back and say, okay, I was on the clock, but it's my fault because, and I go to that agency and ask the agency to actually pay for it, and we just don't. I've never had anyone do that for me, and I've been in accidents.
Well,
and I've gotten
the
tickets.
clerk's argument, and I've heard her say this: if you work for the county and you're driving a county vehicle and you get a speeding ticket, do we pay for your speeding ticket?
Right.
The answer is no. And that makes sense in my brain.
Absolutely.
And I think
you
most
have to
people
abide
think-
speeding laws no matter what car you're
Right.
driving.
And I've dealt with that in multiple different capacities. It just happens to be under a professional license. And so no matter what happened with the
It's a no-brainer.
well,
it's just
you would think. But it's not a no-brainer because we're in
He was in
litigation
county.
with the
because
clerk
people are using their opinions
rather than
instead
good
of-
judgment.
So he was
Right.
in a county vehicle, right? Was he in a county
No,
vehicle?
no. This had to. Well, he would have been on an ambulance, I'm assuming, because he was a paramedic. But there were questions on his abilities to his care that he was rendering.
Oh, okay.
If it was adequate under his scope as a paramedic. And you can read it. It was 8 pages. There were multiple things as a nurse that are not what you would expect. So a normal person would go under some sort
So
of
he was
continuing
taking care of
education.
injured people.
And it was out of
possibly
the scope.
inadequate.
Yeah, like CPAP. Certain things.
He
that
was cited. For that
Yes,
thing. He
in the
was cited.
investigation, medications that shouldn't have been used, and
Yeah, okay.
so different things that anyone in the medical field would say, like, no, that's not the standard
Yeah.
of practice to do that.
Ugh.
So, and here's the thing:
Well, I just feel
no
sorry
one
for the
else on the
people.
board. It's like me being in developmental services. I don't know everything on planning and zoning, but you have to appreciate the expertise that did a state investigation, that have the expertise. And we need to look at that, and that should have been our guiding principle to say, okay, maybe this paramedic was treated wrong. They got $200,000, but on this side, no, the state ruled here and said, no, this guy still had some competency, some practices that shouldn't happen without direction from the medical director. And so for me, it was a no-go.
Is that case still pending?
Yeah, actually,
So that's pending.
and this case, just to tell you how bad that case is. So that case has literally under $7,000 in fines, has tied up countless hours of legal staff just to deal with the clerk that won't pay it, which she's probably right. And so we're wasting all kinds of time for a guy that got $200,000 to pay for his fines. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, are the people okay? Are the patients okay?
No,
Are they?
no. There was. I wish I had the document from me. One of them died. Yeah, or maybe two. Two died. Understand? Now they could have died. I'm not going to blame those deaths because I don't know the totality of the
Right.
situation. There are other comorbidities or anything like that. But
we don't know the reason
yeah,
of death.
but there were two, at least one, and maybe two that deceased. But it could have been from comorbidities
But
and
I
other
mean,
things as
are
well.
there people coming forward and saying, because of his care, I've got this issue now, or
I haven't heard that.
Okay.
Before the time run out, another case?
Yeah. So the 401A, which is, I can't talk about Edler's case in the jail. So let's go on the 401A. So the 401A, is the case where we are the only county.
It's the retirement for elected
58%,
officials.
right, for the county commissioners, 35% for senior management. 401As are out there. The rate's too high, in my opinion. I just signed as the chairman of the Episcopal Perdido Bay Estuary a 401A for the employees. It's 9%, 3% contribution. Pretty close to standard for these kind of things, give or take. The clerk is ruling that it's too excessive. She doesn't want to pay it. Might take, and it's a benefit for us. We're voting for a benefit for ourselves.
Right.
So, and
So it's like you're getting elected for to line your pockets and to.
well, we make $98,000 a year, and then that's an extra
That's a
$58,000
ton of money.
for two meetings a month.
Yeah, that's a ton of money.
Whether it's legal or
I
not.
didn't take it. I took the regular investment fund. I didn't take the foreign.
I don't want to get into the legality of it. It just doesn't have a good look.
Right. It looks like. Well, I mean,
ethically.
Heck, I want to run for county commission.
Yeah, it just it
Because-
doesn't.
Well, you can run, but you shouldn't take that. I mean, that's not right.
I would take it.
Yeah, it's
That's
not a good
That's
look.
why I would run.
You would take it? No, well, I would call you out on your show,
Don't-
Michelle.
But don't you think there are people out there that would run just to take? I mean, that's a lot
Well,
of money.
I absolutely-
At that point, do you really care about the community? Man, I'm going to go on trips.
The text messaging going after private citizens was, I thought, something I'd never see in America, something you see in a third world country or a communist country or something like that. I never thought I'd see us go after citizens.
A citizen,
Right.
yeah,
That to me is unbelievable. And I'm not going to let that go until we own it, and that never happens again, or if it does, I may expose it. But the 401A, here's my thoughts on it.
And just for the record, I just want to make it straight to the viewers. I was completely joking and being completely facetious when I said I would take it. I just wanted to clean the record.
You would take it or you would not take it?
Would not take it.
I would not take it either.
No,
because
I
of
wouldn't.
because
but
of
I was
the,
joking and I said I would. So I wanted to be clear.
Because I'm not counting on political position.
We get paid well. We get paid well.
I know that, and that's what I'm
is,
saying.
And I don't even have a problem if a politician goes into the FRS retirement in the 8 years and you get it in your 60 or 65, or if you take the investment plan, which is kind of interesting, the regular investment plan, because it's based on elected officials, senior management, regular employees, and there's a 13%. But then you pick what you want to do. I want to go on the common index. I want to take the 2050, whatever. Same thing everyone does. A lot of people do in regular corporations. I'm okay with that. Here's the thing I have a problem with. I look at it as a benefit we vote on for ourselves. It's too much, 58%. That's the first thing. And I said this. But the board, we brought up the senior management. They took this out. This was a few months back, the commissioners, because it was in litigation with Pam. I voted no on that because I think 35% is too high. And only like 25 people in senior management are eligible. If you clean the trash in the county, are you less than? If you drive a bus
Right.
for ECAT, are you less than? And you
Yeah,
don't get
because
that
we
opportunity.
all have our vocations. You know,
But that's what I'm saying.
We need
Amen.
those people.
Absolutely.
They help the machine
It's an
run more smoothly.
unfair advantage for only a handful of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would rather just pay your senior directors a good salary
Yeah.
that's equitable to what you should have across the board, and then just say you have the FRS or a regular investment or the FRS retirement. And I don't believe the commissioner should ever be able to devote themselves in the 401A. I think that's a benefit. Like if I want to use your money to go buy me a convertible,
Exactly.
I should, and I have a convertible, but say I want to buy a new Harley, I could go do that. That would be less than $58,000? Should I say that I want that for my transportation to work? No.
One way I look at it is that you're serving the individuals in these districts, and a lot of these folks in here can hardly pay their bills from paycheck to paycheck. You're already getting a salary, $98,000. So now the appearance is the people's working at the county. There are different pay scales, and a lot of them don't have access to it. A lot of people's in your district. It just appears that you're in a position. You're making more than a livable wage. So you've created a situation to enhance yourself. Some people say that's politics, that's government, but why would you want to get into government or politics to enrich yourself? I thought the purpose of it was to go in and try to do something for your constituents.
That's why I'm a huge supporter.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
Which didn't pass by the state, and I respect a
They
representative.
did or didn't pass?
Nope.
For the county commission, there's no term limits.
There's no term limits. They'll come up again. Representative Salzman was there, but you got to remember to pass the bill is a lot harder than kill one. And they were close, but the argument came back to 8 and 12 and small counties and regular counties. We could put them on the ballot and vote for them here because there's the majority of the big counties, like 60% plus of the state of Florida has term limits, but we don't in ESCAMBIA County. So it's not like we couldn't do it. There's a lack of will to do it.
I'm torn on term limits because I think it should be up to the voters to decide who is elected, no matter if they're elected one time or two
I like
times.
12 years versus 8, but
I like that too. What I don't really like is the PACs, because you have these you have these candidates that have all this money behind them, and of course they're going to win.
well, I don't like the PACs, but I've thought about this in depth. So I think you're going to start from federal to local. I think 12 years I didn't know you were telling me. 12 years, two 6-year terms for Senate, 3 4-year terms for Congress. Get rid of these 2-year terms because all they do is fundraise,
Yeah.
and make them 4 years at a time.
Right.
County commissioners 4 years, school board, everyone.
Two years is kind of tough.
It's
'Cause
ridiculous. They literally
it comes
go
way too fast.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden, all you do is try to get donor bases that will keep you
Right.
donating, and then they have influence. And so,
And then if you get a PAC, boy, you've got it made in the shade. You're going to be there
oh yeah,
until.
well, and we had Senator Scott here, and he brought that up.
And it doesn't matter what kind of job you're doing. You've
That's
got
the
them-
problem with the government at the federal level. You got 2 PACs. That's why there's probably only 3 to 4 senates up, 20 seats in the House, and everyone else is secure.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. There's only a handful, although Florida's getting more conservative. As you guys know, we have many more registered Republicans than we did even 4 years ago. So that's good in that aspect. But the PACs, they definitely have a huge influence.
My thing is, as in a whole lot of jobs, different jobs, even when you stay in one area too long, you gain so much experience. And I think after 12 years in politics, you have 12 years of experience working against you, because now you became bigger than the position, and it's kind of difficult. You're kind of entrenched, so all your new ideas, all the things. So what you do, you go in every 4 years, re-promising things that you should have done the first 4 years. So all that experience really, and that's my take on it, is working against you. It's not working for the.
We'll circle back to what we started with. If you're in a specialized district, which I think we're only one of 4 in the United, 3 or 4, and then you have legacy commissioners that stay there for 16 to 20 years, or you have a commissioner that comes in from District 2 that's never around for more than 4 or 8. Bill Dixon did 4, Gene did 8, Doug did 8. I'm on my first term. You can look at between Commissioner Berry and May, if they both get reelected. Yeah. They'll have more than all the commissioners in the last 30 years. In District 2,
like I said,
if voters would look at the work that the commissioners are doing rather than the money, we'd.
But if they had to run countywide,
yeah.
they
Oh,
would have
yeah.
represented
That'd be
the
pretty
base.
awesome.
We wouldn't have this problem with the base
Exactly.
now, because they would have to do all that.
Thank you for coming on the show.
I loved it.
We're about out of time. So the Thornton Review is on the air to provide public service awareness and intellectual infrastructure to our community. You can watch our program on our newest outlet, Pensacola Urban Network Praise TV on WBQP 12.1 and 12.8, and you can watch us on Praise TV on Roku Television Network, or download Praise TV on Google Play Store and our website, thethorntonreview.com. This show was made possible by Ida Gates Godly Tees LLC, Next Door Real Estate Photography, First National Title Insurance Company. We want to thank our guest, Commissioner Michael KOHLER, for coming on the show, and we want to thank our viewers for watching this episode of the Thornton Review. Bye-bye.